Another Dooley Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Have a great show for you today. Coach Spurrier, Robbie Andrew, as always on Mondays. Not always, but a lot of the time on Mondays. We have both of them on. Robbie will do Yes, Nowhere, maybe, and Coach Spurrier. We can talk about a wild, crazy, wonderful weekend. It was a lot of fun to watch. I am having a little bit of sinus trouble, and so my voice is a little hoarse, but I'm plodding through. Thursday, Ahmad Black. We've had him on the show several times. We love talking to him. We'll talk to him about the Gators and about his Bucks, who did not win, as you know, if you're a Bucks fan. All right, let's get to our Process Service of Gainesville starting five, brought to you by Process Service of Gainesville. Scott Hart and the people there do a wonderful job. All right, let's start off with number one. Let's get right to it. Gators win. Gators win in basketball. We'll start off with that because that was an important game for Todd Golden to win. They gave up 36 points to Tamar Bates, who I had, to be honest with you, never heard of before I watched that game. I've seen a couple of Missouri games, but I've just kind of casually watched them because they're terrible. They're 0-5 now in the SEC. But Florida had to win, and you win a game like that on the road, it helps you. It helps you. In fact, their net ranking went up to 45. It's still not anywhere near the tournament right now. They've still got to win a lot of games. They're coming up on the weirdest schedule. I don't know if I've ever seen this in the SEC. Florida's playing 5 straight weekends where they play 2 away and 2 home and 2 away and 2 home, 2 away, 2 home. Usually it's like you play like 2 and then you play 1 and 2. Anyway, it's just kind of weird to me. Big weekend this weekend, or big week this week for Florida. We'll get to that a little bit later. Florida was outranked. They weren't out-rebounded in the first half, but the rebounding margin was way too close, and the Gators were up by 3. But then the Gators found the right guy to come in and be physical with them, and that was this guy. I wish he should be suiting up. That's Riley Kugel's dad, who was an internet sensation. He was right there with Jason Kelsey, and at least on my feeds, but it was so cool that they showed him, and I'm like, my first thought was McDonald Ferguson. Is that McDonald Ferguson? Does he live in Columbia, Missouri? And if you don't know McDonald Ferguson, he played on the 96 national championship team, but he really didn't play much. Just a bodybuilder, huge physical guy, but didn't play hardly at all. I should ask Coach Spurrier about that, but I don't know if we'll get to it. So anyway, the Gators win. A first road win. They needed it. They got more physical in the second half, out-rebounded Missouri by 10 in the second half, and got to win. They're still 0-6 in quad 1 games. Somebody was referring to this as a potential quad 1 win, and I'm like, what quad are you looking at? Look, I understand people who get tired of me talking about nets and quads, but these are facts. These are things that are going to affect whether they get in the tournament or not. I'm hoping they can win enough here down the stretch because they're going to have some tough road games, but they're going to be opportunities. That's what I would do if I was Todd Golden. I would go to my team and go, you know what we have coming up? We have 8, because there are 8 in that stretch. There's like 11 games left. 8 opportunities. Okay, we go 2, 2, 2, 2. We've already done the 2. We went 1-1. That was fine. Going 1-1 wasn't the worst thing in the world. You played like crap at Tennessee, but that's okay. But you got opportunities here to get in the tournament. You want to go to the tournament? Yes or no? I'll never forget, as long as I live, the late Major Parker, who told us that he had no idea that everybody didn't get in the tournament. When he was a freshman, he goes, I thought everybody got in. We were talking about, hey, we think you might make the tournament. He's like, I thought everybody got in the tournament. He certainly learned and got in the tournament a lot, and God rest his soul. Florida now 0-6 against Quad 1 teams and 4-0 against Quad 2 teams. Now, those are good wins for Florida, but as we've talked about before, the other teams aren't very good. Here's a stat for you I wanted to bring up that I used in my back nine column, which you can read at WRUF.com. 53 teams right now are averaging over 80 points a game. I thought it seemed like everybody's scoring a lot of points. But I looked that up, and it was even more than I thought. 53 at 80 points a game. It used to be you tried to win a game in college basketball by get first one to 70 wins. It's a different world now, and I think a lot of it has to do with nobody playing defense. Now, Florida did play defense in the second half, but they haven't played defense very much all year. So we'll see how it's just the way it goes right now. All right, let's get to number 2 on the process service of Gainesville starting 5, and that is Florida adding recruits over the weekend. Certainly getting Dontre Robinson, getting Jameer Grimsley. Robinson was a Texas commit. Grimsley was an Alabama commit. Obviously, in Robinson's case, his position coach, Bo Davis, left for LSU. But he didn't go to LSU. He went to Florida. But this goes back to relationships. I was reading this story on The Athletic about Jaden Proctor, who ended up at Iowa. And I'm like, Iowa? You were at Alabama. You started every game at Alabama, and you're going to Iowa where they play no offense? I know you're an offensive lineman, but they play no offense. And but he's from that area. And but they kept the relationship going with him. And that's, I think, what a lot of people don't understand. And I think as fans, you guys can take that too to heart. Just because a guy commits to another school, don't start ripping him. That's not going to make him want to come back if he decides to get in the portal, or in the case of Caden Proctor, Nick Saban leaving. So the coaches are going to keep the relationship going with the guy. If they're smart, they're not going to yell and bitch and complain. They're just going to let it. Okay. In fact, I read the story, and Kirk Ferentz and his recruiting coordinator, and they said, hey, good luck there. We hope you do well. You always have a home here, things like that. Yeah, that's the way you need to approach things. And I think that's the way fans need to approach it, because some of that stuff you guys put out there is not only toxic, but players read it. It is about relationships. I will say this, though, and everybody wants to bitch about guys getting in the portal and going and leaving and going to different schools and everything. And I get your frustrations about it. I understand your concerns about it. But look, these guys have grown up with the worst role models in the world. They're coaches. Their coaches are the worst role models they could possibly have. If I get a better job, I'm leaving. And I won't even say goodbye to you sometimes. There have been coaches who have not. Bobby Petrino, I can think of. The guy that went to Arizona State, I can't remember his name, was at Pitt. Todd Graham. Didn't even tell his team he was leaving. These are the role models they're growing up with. The guys who are leading them. And a lot, I'm not saying a lot, but some guys come from single parent families. So they're looking for role models, and they go to play for coaches, and they're getting this. This is what they're getting. Yeah, you come here, I'm going to take care of you. I'm leaving. See ya. So why wouldn't they just do whatever benefits them? Why would they have loyalty to a school? I have no problem with it. I think we sometimes get a little caught up in it. Anyway, that's my lecture for the day. All right, number 3, let's go to Chiefs Bills. Unbelievable game. You're sitting there and you're watching and you're going, they should play every week. It was incredible. Obviously, the missed field goal was a big part of it. But I've said this before. Patrick Mahomes would have had 143 to go down and get a field goal. Okay? He would have been all right. That Bills defense, I think, was a little tired. They hadn't played really that well anyway. But Mahomes now 13-3 in playoff games. Nobody goes. I mean, it's hard to go. Well, I'm not saying nobody. It's hard to go 13-3 in anything in life. I'm 1-1 in marriages, for example. It's hard to go 13-3. I shouldn't say that. I was actually 2-0. One of them rejected me at the end. Luckily, this one hasn't because she's great. So obviously, a lot of this was about, and people are mad about the whole Jason Kelsey. And I'm like, what? This was great entertainment. Are you kidding me? This was the best entertainment I had all weekend was the Chiefs-Bills game. The game, you'd want to get occasional shots of Taylor Swift, see what she was doing. Not everybody in my family agrees. They've kind of gotten sick of it. But I think it's fun. I think the NFL's loving it. I promise you that. But it was a fun game to watch, and most of the games were good. Number 4, though, is why the Bucs went for 2. Analytics can. I was going to say something that I probably shouldn't say, but they can stick it right where the sun don't shine. I'm so sick of people saying analytics. Collinsworth on the broadcast talking about the analytics of it. I'm like, I don't care. You kicked the extra point there, and I was rooting against the Bucs. And I was like, they're going for 2? Good. That could be if they stop them here, that could be good. Anyway, I don't get that, but the Bucs lose. So now number 5 on the process service of Gainesville starting 5. We know what our championship games are, and the spreads are, of course, out immediately, which I can still never figure out why we can't get basketball spreads until you're the day of the game or the day before the game. But football spreads we can get. We already know the spreads for the Florida-Georgia game, for example. But anyway, the Ravens are 3-point favorites over Kansas City. I'm not going to make my picks till Thursday's show. By the way, I went 3-1 because I picked all the home teams, and one of them let me down, although I was rooting for the other team. But I picked all the home teams. Unfortunately, when I do my picks for the back 9, I use the spreads, and the spreads were kind of weird on Monday. And so when I did it, I actually went 1-3. But I picked different teams because they're getting 9 points. I'll take them with the 9 points. Anyway, didn't work out for me. So anyway, the Ravens are 3-point favorites over Kansas City. San Francisco 6.5 over Detroit. And I saw a graphic too today that was talking about the best matchups for the Super Bowl. What ideally? Well, there's 2 different kinds of best matchups. The game you want to see and the game NFL hopes happens. Those of you who believe in conspiracy theories are just idiots, okay? And when you talk about the NFL is making the referees make certain calls, that is so stupid. That's not happening. Whoever wins, wins. Whoever loses, loses. You just, whatever plays happen, whatever calls happen, you let them happen. It's not about the getting the best matchup. You hope it's the best matchup for ratings and stuff. They want the Chiefs in. They hope the Chiefs get in. I don't think anybody's going to change anything to make them get in. Certainly, if maybe because I saw not TikTok. I don't look at TikTok, but I saw a Twitter version or a Twitter where a fan had set up a fan to blow the ball right in his living room. So, and it worked. So maybe the NFL's doing that, but no, that's not what's happening. Ideally for them, I think it would be San Francisco and Kansas City. San Francisco, because that way you got the Midwest and you got the West Coast. But I think it's probably the Ravens, and I don't know. I'm not ready to make a pick yet. I'm just not ready. It's still too fresh. I gotta wait till Thursday. Thursday, maybe I get Ahmad Black to make a pick too. We'll get he and I both to make picks. All right. Look forward to that. All right. That is going to do it for our process service of Gainesville starting 5. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. We'll be back with the HBC. He'll be presented by Meldon Law, as he always is on Mondays. And, of course, Robbie Andrew, presented by Big Mills Cheesesteaks. All that coming up, man. You got a lot to look forward to here on another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Process Service of Gainesville offers a rapid turnaround on affidavits of service for Gator lawyers locally and nationwide. Our friend Scott Hart offers immediate responses on status requests and is a member of NAPS and FAPS. And he has been a part of the community for almost 2 decades. Need service? Call Process Service of Gainesville at 407-697-9592 or email shartgators, that's G8TR, at yahoo.com. And make sure you ask about the paralegal legal secretary bonus program.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Dooley Noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where, everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Okay, welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. It's his. He owns it. He runs it.
Part owner.
He runs it too, don't you? You come in here and cook it up, right, and everything. So we're great to have him. And Meldon Law also sponsors his appearances here every Monday, and we love it. We love Meldon Mondays when Coach Spurrier's here. I know you had an interesting weekend like everybody did, watching all this stuff that was going on. What I found out about you is you're like me, and that you have 2 TVs.
Oh, yeah.
You have to have 2 TVs on all the time.
Got to have 2. This was an interesting weekend.
Yes,
I wrote down all these things, and it just doesn't happen all the time. Let me go down my list. First of all, Tara Vander Veer, the lady basketball coach at Stanford, set the all-time record for wins, broke Coach K's record. So she's the winningest college basketball coach, men and women, of all time. Stanford University.
It's pretty amazing.
Congratulations to her. And they had a full house out at Stanford watching her play. And then we watched Ohio State and Iowa play. Iowa's got the leading scorer, player of the year, Caitlin Collins. And Ohio State upset them, and they had a full house, and the fans rushed the court. Rushed the court, just like in football when a big win happens.
Well, I don't know if you saw one of them waylaid Caitlin Clark accidentally.
I heard about that. So. I heard somebody ran into her. She was just trying to get off the court. But they were fired up. Women's basketball is the hottest new sport, I think.
It is. I agree with you.
In all the college sports. Everywhere they go, they got a full house.
We need to get it going here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
and they're already advertising. The South Carolina women are playing the LSU women Thursday night of this week. Oh. And they're advertising.
I'll watch
already.
that game.
I'll watch it too, Thursday night. We play Mississippi State tonight at 7 o'clock, and I'm going to that one. I really like watching our ladies play. Carrera is as good a shooter, I think,
really
as
good.
Anybody in women's basketball. So hopefully she gets a lot of good shots tonight. And then, of course, we go to the golf tournament. I'm sure you watched it all. I called Steve Melnick, who won the U.S. Amateur, and this kid, Nick Dunlap, won the PGA event. And as an amateur, and the last guy to do it was Phil Mickelson, 1991.
That's right.
How about that, 1991?
So the guy who finished second got the $1.5 million.
Yeah.
And he buried the last hole to do it, so it was
sure
like
did.
He won.
And Dunlap had to get up and down from about 40, 30 yards out or something like that, a little chip and run play, but he got in there about 5-6 feet and canned it. So he's something. He is really a good player. U.S. amateur champ, and he's definitely
U.S. junior amateur champ too.
Well, yeah,
he's doing the Rose Zhang thing. Yeah,
he's a winner, and he can chip and putt and hit it a long way. He's got all those qualities. So look for Dunlap, a guy to be very successful in pro golf. And then, of course, there was a lot of crying in pro football yesterday. And there's crying from losing and crying from winning.
There was.
Winning. Yeah, first of all, Detroit wins.
Yeah.
Okay, so their fans were crying because it was the first time they're going to the NFC Championship game since 1991 when Wayne Fontes was the coach there.
I remember Wayne Fontes very well, yeah.
And the kid Dunlap, the last time an amateur won the pro was Phil Mickelson in 1991.
Maybe there's something to that.
A lot of 91s. I said, heck, that was the year we
officially,
officially,
yeah,
first time, but we won in 90 also. But 91 was a lot of stuff happened back then, and it seems like. So anyway, the Detroit fans were crying with joy. They were happy. This is like 32 or 3 years ago it happened. So they were happy. And then at Buffalo, the Buffalo fans really thought this is the year we're going to beat Kansas City. Yep. And they had their chances. They had some long passes they dropped, and stuff happened. And then their guy missed a field goal. But I'm going to give the field goal kicker a little pass. Let me tell you, he hit that ball, and it started out inside the right goalpost. And most kickers, have a little slight draw, but this one took a slice.
It did.
Sometimes they do that, and I bet if you ask the kicker when he hit it, did you think you'd made it right off? Because as you kick, you see it come out through your eyesight a little bit, and then all of a sudden it took a dead right, and it wasn't even close to going in. So he's getting a lot of criticism, but I sort of give him a pass. He hit it. I thought he hit it well.
I also give him a pass for this, Steve, and I talked about this earlier.
No excuses.
They would have had 1:43 to go. You don't think Mahomes could have driven him to a field goal to win the game? He did it with 13 seconds left last year. So I think that to blame it all on Tyler Bass is not fair.
I agree.
And Josh Allen had some terrible plays in the second half of that game.
And the Buffalo defense was not good.
No, it's not good.
In fact, they ran the ball for 9 yards to run out the clock. First down, second down,
Pacheco.
for about 4.
I love watching Pacheco.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So it was. It wasn't on the kicker. It was, I think, a team loss. And but Buffalo, they got a good team. But so I'm watching the news this morning. Sports Center, and now they got Belichick going to Buffalo.
That's what I heard. Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah.
I mean, that guy's a pretty good coach, I think. But anyway,
but he called for a fake punt, on his own 30. Even though I was like, watch for the fake. I'm screaming because I like the Chiefs. I'm screaming, watch for the fake. And sure enough, they faked it and they stopped it. And
I tell you what, a shout out to the Chiefs. 6 years in a row, they have been in the AFC Championship game.
I know.
6 years in a row. So
that's because they got a
special
Reid, quarterback.
Andy Reid and Mahomes. Yeah, Mahomes comes to play. I mean, he may make 50-something million a year, but he comes to play, and he's an excellent leader and all that. In fact, I saw something the other day that was interesting also. There were something like 12 or 13 quarterbacks in NFL making over $40 million a year, up to 55, I think, Joe Burrow. How many of those 12 do you think their teams made the playoffs?
Probably 5.
5.
Yeah.
5 made it. So the other 7, they either got hurt or they were just out there. But the 5 that made it, 2 of them played yesterday. And but so many of these teams, these quarterbacks, they just came and they're playing well and playing better.
I wish the Chiefs and Bills could play again next week because their games are always the best games to watch.
Yeah, it was a heck of a game. But anyway, teams win in football, not the quarterbacks that make the most money. That's what I was trying to say. Teams win, and it helps to have a great quarterback like Mahomes, and Josh Allen. So, but it didn't work out. Doesn't work out a lot. So anyway, I wanted to get into that.
Yeah.
And
a lot happened this weekend. It was fun to watch.
On a bad note, our Gators got a notice that we're being investigated for breaking rules in football. I didn't know you could break rules anymore, did you?
That is a good question. I did not know there were rules anymore.
We still have times that you can visit with recruits and you can't, dead periods and all that. I didn't know there was, but there is that now. But I think it had something to do with the NIL and that guy 2 years ago,
Rashada,
that didn't come. Nobody knows exactly what happened, but it's, to have 3 straight losing seasons, first time since 38, 39, 40, I think somebody said. And then to have that on top of it that's not something we're doing somersaults about, is it?
No, we are not doing somersaults.
We got to do better. We got to do better. But hopefully this year we can do that right now.
Well, and Billy did have a good weekend otherwise.
Yeah.
I mean, getting those two guys.
And we still have another signing day coming up in February,
yeah.
correct? Yeah.
So, I mean, they're going to I said this the other day on the radio. I think the roster is going to be the best roster it's been for a while, maybe for a long time here. But you still got to win games. You got a tough schedule. We all know that. You open up with Miami. This will be a tough schedule. I wanted to ask you, though, about two things, too. One is the Bucks' decision to go for 2 there after they cut it to what? An 8-point game.
Yeah, I thought it was stupid.
I did too.
I thought it was very stupid. Now you're down 8. Now
Collinsworth's explaining it to me, and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
you're wrong, Chris.
He was trying to say that too. I said, well, why don't you? What he was saying, well, then why don't you go for 2 every time then?
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, that 1's a given, and it keeps you within 7.
And it doesn't lose momentum.
Exactly. The team that scores last, I don't know why, but when you go into overtime, you have the best chance.
Yeah.
If you score last and go into overtime.
But even if you were going to make that decision, why not make that if you scored that second touchdown? And now you're in a 1-point game. Do we want to go ahead and win this game on the road? I'm telling you, Steve, analytics have taken over this game, and these coaches need to start coaching on feel and how the game is going.
Remember 2 years ago, Lane Kiffin came out with all that go for it all the time, and he went for it, missed. He quit doing that.
Yeah.
And he won 11 games this year because he quit doing that. But he's got a good defense.
Yeah.
If you think our defense can't stop anybody, then you may have to try to go for it or go for 4th downs at midfield, which is, I think, smart. For midfield or to the 30. You might as well go for 4th down there. That's no big deal. But
I had no problem with going for 4th downs. I have a problem, though, when just wait till the next touchdown to go for 2. Because now your momentum sapped. Now you're thinking mentally, we've got to score and get a 2-point conversion or the game's going to be over. I just don't think it was a smart move. And these analytics are losing my mind. The other thing I wanted to ask you about was we had 2 instances this weekend that were huge about court storming. One was Caitlin Clark, who got bowled over by a fan. The other was at Memphis Tulane. Tulane rushed the court. The star player from Memphis got pushed from behind. And it's just, you've been a victim of this as a football coach. I mean, I'm trying to think of how many teams rushed the field when they played you, but I know Mississippi State did, I think, right?
Yeah, Mississippi State did once out there. I think Tennessee did.
Tennessee did, in '98.
It didn't bother me, to tell you the truth.
It doesn't concern you that guys are going to get trampled or get hit or anything like that? No, or the media could get hurt?
You get concerned if one of your players gets mad at somebody and cold cocks them, a student, and that would be bad also. But usually if they wait just a little bit and let the players get off the field, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But it never bothered me when the other teams did that. Well, I think they did it at LSU too when they beat us
they did.
for the first time.
That's right. Yeah,
first time in about 8 years. They beat us down there in '97. So anyway,
that goalpost came down right next to me. I mean,
LSU?
Literally, at LSU. Yeah. I was walking across the field.
I think it's sort of a salute that, hey, you guys are pretty good. We're gonna rush.
So you consider it a compliment,
yeah, a compliment. That's it. We don't beat you guys often, so we got to celebrate. So anyway,
well, to a point,
the most fun was the time at Tennessee when Jabari Gaffney got the pass and it wiggled down through him. They were ready to rush the field. They were sitting there. And gosh, that was a 91-yard drive by Jesse Palmer.
I was in the opposite end zone, so I knew I could feel him coming over the top of me.
That's still the best last-minute drive in my coaching career was Jesse Palmer at Tennessee in 2000. And what's so neat about it, after we won that one, we won all the rest of we lost at Mississippi State. I'm sorry, and then after that we regrouped and won the SEC that year.
You know that I was interviewing Jesse Palmer about 4 or 5 years ago, and I said, I got to be honest with you, Jesse. when you were on your own 9-yard line, you got the ball, and I'm like, there's no way Jesse Palmer's driving this team down to win this game. And he said, that's what my dad thought too. I'm like, well, I mean, because
that was his moment.
It was his moment.
Gator quarterback.
It helped you guys. You won the SEC that year, right?
We won the SEC that year after getting clobbered at Mississippi State.
Yeah.
We came back and regrouped, and Saban brought his LSU team to the Swamp. This is in 2000. And back then, Saban was just another ball
guy.
coach.
Just a guy.
We beat him 41-7. And I don't even think his name was in the write-up because he was just getting started there.
Yeah.
So and then lo and behold, the next year,
that's right, because he had come from Michigan State. He had not coached in the bowl game against you guys.
I think that might have been
Citrus
his first
Bowl,
year.
So it was his first year.
First year, 2000. And in 2001, we beat them pretty good out there, but we came back and lost to Tennessee, and they won the SEC. I guess that was his second year.
Yep, they won. They beat Tennessee.
And then after
with
that,
the backup quarterback, they beat him.
After that, he had a good habit of winning in college football. That's for sure.
Yeah, he did pretty well. I mean, obviously, it's one thing that's happened is we're seeing all these guys, jumping into the portal because coaches leave, but you're allowed to do that. But I mean, what are you going to do? There's more and more people that feel like this is the right way to go versus the wrong way to go. And when people start asking me about things that we can do to improve college football, I'm like, who's going to do it, though? Who is going to do it? I don't know who's going to do it. The NCAA doesn't seem to have much power anymore. The conferences are looking out for themselves. That's all they care about. So I don't know who's going to do anything like that. Like, if you want to put a salary cap on NIL, if you want to restrict, no, you're going to lose all these lawsuits. It all comes down to lawsuits in the end.
Yeah, that's the way America operates now. Lawsuits, delay.
It is.
Whatever's going to happen. But, Alabama, talking about transfers, it seems like a lot of their players
28
have left.
now
28
is the number
left.
right now, yeah.
And DeBoer, I think he's got his work cut out for him.
He brought in a couple of guys from Washington that are going to help him, like 6 I think they've gotten so far. But, I'm with you on that. I mean, and look, his first game is against Georgia.
Yeah, first conference game?
Yeah, first conference game.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
Their schedule toughened up a little bit.
Everybody's did, though. Everybody except Missouri. Somehow Missouri got out of this. They got such an easy schedule. But, I mean.
Would you rather play Oklahoma or Texas? I think it's 50-50, to tell you the truth right now.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Well, I would rather play Oklahoma because Texas, with yours, is still pretty good. But they've lost a lot of guys. But that's the world we live in. I mean, like, literally, Steve, there's going to be games next year you're going to watch early in the season where you're going to go, what? How? He's playing for them? I can't believe he's playing for them now.
If you were the head coach at Washington and just had the year that DeBoer had, and Alabama offered you the job, and say they're going to pay you a couple extra million a year or so, would you take the Alabama job instead of the security of Washington? Everybody loves you, and we're doing well, or go someplace where you can't do better than the guy before you? Can't do better.
I would not. I would not take it because.
I would not either.
And here's the biggest reason. I know Alabama fans.
Oh, yeah.
I've been around that for a long time. They ran Bill Curry out of there terribly.
He actually won the SEC the year they ran him out.
That's right.
But he lost to Auburn 2 years in a row.
Yes.
They said, you're out of here, man. Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's a hard thing to deal with. But anyway.
It'll be interesting, but man, when you follow those guys, I can't think of any coach that's really done well after following a coach that's won conference championships and so forth.
Ron Zook. I mean, you told him at the dinner you guys had before when he was taking the job. He goes, it's not going to be easy. You know why?
Well, he didn't.
And he didn't do that
He didn't
bad.
leave a head job to come here.
No,
so he had to take it.
Yeah.
I mean, If you got a situation you really like, and I don't know. Time will tell, but I just don't know how he can make that job work in the long run. In the long run, whereas at Washington, he might have been there 10, 15 years.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, time will tell.
Yep. We have to get to our Campus USA play of the weekend. We had a lot to choose from, and we went with one that seems pretty obvious.
The game on the line, he will.
Now watch this
44
kick.
yards
Yeah,
pass.
see, it starts right there. Now watch it go right. See, keep going right. Yeah.
He shanked it.
Well, I don't think
No,
he
he didn't
did.
shank it. He just pushed it a little
I
bit.
think he hit it like he sort of wanted to, and then it got up in the air, and then it dove right.
just-
See, keep going right.
Yeah, it just-
I mean, it didn't just stay there on the right pole. It sliced to the right. It might have sliced it a little bit, like we do in golf.
We do off.
I don't know if the wind was left or right. Yeah, no, the wind wasn't terrible. They got those flags on
Yeah.
top there.
He just missed it.
It got up and sliced off.
But like I said-
I've seen those. That happened before.
Yeah, like I said, Mahomes would have had a minute 43
He still had
to
a
get
lot
a
of
field
time
goal.
to go down and get a field goal.
To go down and get a field
Yeah.
goal and win the game.
That's true.
All right, Coach.
So
So,
anyway.
I know that you're the Spurrier Award for
Coach of the Year?
Coach of the Year, first year Coach of the Year is coming up. When is that going to be? At the end of February?
Yeah, February, I think, 26th, Monday night and so forth. So, yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, we got a couple of coaches online to receive that. I think our two finalists are Barry Odom out at Las Vegas, UNLV, and Jamie Chadwell at Liberty.
Yep.
So
They
those,
both
those
had
are our
great
two
years.
finalists right now.
I think
But,
Odom was more of a surprise.
he was a
Yeah,
surprise.
yeah.
Yeah, he did well out there. But anyway, speaking of Gator basketball, we're doing had a big win at
Good win, yep, in
Mississippi.
Missouri.
Men did. Our women play tonight. Our gymnastics is
They
second
beat
in the
Auburn,
nation right
yep.
now, I think. So we got a chance to have a big year there. We won the SEC in women's cross country. Did you know that?
I did know. They won the national championship in women's cross country.
I did not know the national.
No, the girl won it.
Individual. Okay.
Falvey.
Yeah,
Not Falvey.
not team.
I can't think of
Yeah,
her name.
I mean,
she's been our Adam Dribko.
And I think that happened back in November,
Yeah.
October, November, something like that. So I got to keep
I think they
get
finished
caught
fifth.
up with that.
They finished fifth
Uh-huh.
in cross country. Yeah.
But our swimmers and our track, they'll be getting going here, and they always
Baseball
do
and
well.
softball too.
Yeah, baseball. In fact, as I was driving into the stadium today, I come by the softball field there, and they were out there taking batting practice.
Oh, yeah.
So women's softball is coming up soon. So,
I know that last Sunday they had their first, not this Sunday, but last Sunday they had their first meeting for the baseball team too. So they usually start a week before softball, and I love that time of year. It's fun because until you get to the playoffs, till you get to the regionals, every game is just its own game, and you just play the game, and then if you lose, okay, you got to come back the next day.
Yeah,
you know? So
add them all up.
Yep.
Well, that's what's interesting about, well, especially NFL football, is that they play 17 games now, and then it comes down to a missed field goal or whatever
know.
your whole season.
I know.
So it's no 2 out of 3s like baseball. You know, it's 4 out of 7. Since they play so many games, but football, it's down to that one game. And I almost wish, Pat, that when they get to their final 8 or something, they would do like we do in college, have indoor ballparks. I mean, it's so cold and windy. It just, guys are dropping some passes, I think, because of the weather. But that's not the way they do it. And maybe, having the home field, they've earned that home field. Give those fans opportunity to see it. But at Super Bowl now, they play where the weather's good.
Yeah.
Indoor or in California or Florida. So that's what.
Well, the only time they didn't play where the weather was good was
they did do that one year.
when they played
New
in
York.
Atlanta and Detroit. Both in New York, you're right. We're
York,
all
they were
just terrible weather, but they were domed.
They were lucky. The one in New York was pretty good weather that time. Remember, I think.
Yeah, that was
Seattle
good
winning
weather.
up there that time. But
Remember,
they
the
not
worst
doing
weather
that
they
anymore.
ever got was Miami when Peyton Manning won it because it
Rain.
was pouring rain.
Yeah, it did rain.
I remember
pretty good
Urban went to that game. He was doing some stuff there, and he was just drenched
Yeah.
at the end of it. All right, Coach, we appreciate your time as always.
All
We'll be
right.
back with them again next
Basketball.
Monday, and we'll talk. Hey, basketball. I will talk a little bit about basketball and the offensive explosion we're seeing in basketball next week, okay? So we'll talk
right.
about that. When we come back, we'll have all of our great stuff, including a Yes, No, Where, maybe with Robbie Andrew. You are listening or watching another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
I was driving behind a lady, and very suddenly she moved out of the way. There was a log laying in the road, and when I hit my brakes, I went on top of the log. I had 280 discs. I just haven't been the same since. Jeffrey Meldon fought for me all the way. Him and his team really went there for me. Throughout the whole lawsuit, he made sure that my bills was paid. It was never no whenever I called him and asked him for something.
Call Meldon Law right now.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coaches Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. All right, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. It's always a great pleasure to bring on the great Robbie Andrew for a Yes, No, Where, Maybe. He comes to you on the Big Mills Cheesesteaks Zoom line. Robbie, how'd you like the games yesterday? Yeah, by the way, he's coming to us from our Love Boat camera. So we got a special Love Boat camera.
The Love Boat. I enjoyed the games, Pat. How about you?
I thought they were great. But I root for the Chiefs. I think it's me and about, 10,000 people that are Chiefs fans. But that's it. Everybody now hates the Chiefs. They want them out of this thing because they're tired of the whole Kelsey thing.
But you know what, Pat? With the way Mahomes is playing now and the way their defense is playing, there's going to be more hating because I don't see them losing. They're going to be hard to beat.
I think the games next week, I'm hoping they're good. I mean, we only had one really bad game, and that was the second half of the Ravens game. But other than that, it was great stuff.
Kind of saw that one coming, too.
Yeah. I mean, it was a little bit too big for him, for C.J. Stroud, I think. But last week wasn't. But, it's funny. We've been joking about whether you're more Full House or Love Boat with that thing you have on there, but I think it's more Love Boat, and I'm wondering why the Love Boat's not on more on syndication. I mean, you never see it anymore. I mean, it's terrible. The show itself is terrible, but the thing that's great about it is you get to watch all these people that you've never heard of again that were big stars in the 70s. So I always got a kick out of watching it.
I mean, even people like Milton Berle were on there, Pat.
That's right. It'd be like, okay, today's special guest, it'd be one of who is that? Audrey Landers from Knots Landing or Dallas or whatever. And then it would be Milton Berle and Jamie Farr. Farr was on a few of those. And then it'd be Tony Tennille from The Captain and Tennille.
Yeah. Wasn't Dear Abby on one of those?
She was on one too, yeah.
I think she was.
It was great stuff. All right, it's time for it was a classic. Time for us to play Yes, No, Where, Maybe. Pretty good franchise for Gavin McLeod, considering he was Mary Tyler Moore and Love Boat. He had a pretty good gig going there for two different shows. Yes, No, Where, Maybe is brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak, street dining done the right way, and a sponsor of the Bob Dooley Invitational. And we appreciate Big Mills, of course, if you go in there and say, hey, I listened to Robbie Andrew and Pat Dooley on another Duly Noted podcast, free fries with whatever order you make. I would just order fries. I don't think you can get away with that, though. All right, Robbie, are you ready for this?
Ready to go.
All right, number one on Yes, No, Where, Maybe. Robbie, you have had enough of Taylor Swift.
What now? No, I love it, Pat. I think it's great. And I think, like somebody saw on the radio today, the Kelseys are becoming the most popular family in the country right now. And I think people are enjoying watching it. I loved watching his brother pounding those beers and getting out with the fans.
I did too.
The thing is,
I don't know. I like the Chiefs. The Chiefs are kind of my team, even though they're not really because they do the tomahawk chop. But so I'm rooting for them in every game they play.
Yeah.
But in my family, Kelsey and Karen have both gone, I've had enough. They're in the I've had enough. And there's a lot of people out there that have had enough.
Yeah, I haven't had enough yet. I think I want more Kelseys, to be honest with you.
I want.
It was funny how little. It was funny how small that beer can looked in his giant hands.
I know. Well,
when he was pounding beer.
Well, it didn't last long. I can tell you that. I don't know how big it was, but it didn't last long because he was pounding.
And he started early in the day during the tailgate, so he was going hard.
I saw a thing about that before their parade last year. He drank in excess of 20 beers before he gave his speech. He's our kind of guy, Robbie.
Yeah, I can see that happening.
All right, number 2 on Yes, No, Where, Maybe. Florida gained some real, and I'm putting fingers around real, like fake quotes around real momentum this last weekend with the two.
They did, Pat. I mean, we were on the radio last week and we were both talking about how nothing positive has happened for Florida. And then you get these big commitments from, the Texas defensive tackle and then the defensive back that was at Alabama. So to me, they've got momentum again. And I think people were saying today, this recruiting class now has gotten back into the top 10 maybe. So, yeah, I think for the first time in a while, they've got some momentum going. They've had a lot of good juniors in here the last couple of weekends. So, I think it's in a positive thing. But when the day a lot of the momentum started, the NCAA thing dropped.
I know.
So that was kind of typical Florida right now.
Yeah, exactly. It just can't get any good news. And again, we have no idea how serious this is or whether it's a big deal. I mean, if they opened it this summer, clearly they haven't done much with it since then. It's almost
for one thing, Pat, the collective that came up with that ridiculous thing is no longer in existence. So who are you going to punish for that?
Eddie Rojas? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
It's almost like, though, the NCAA is all constantly working on the Penske file. It's Costanza. What have you done? Did you do any work on this? They're always working on the Penske file. Finally, Robbie, on Yes, Nowhere, Maybe, the touchback rule that everybody's either losing their mind over or is saying, what else are you going to do? The touchback rule on fumbles that go through the end zone is a bad rule. Yes, Nowhere, Maybe.
But no, that's not a bad rule, Pat. What are you going to do otherwise if the ball is fumbled out of bounds?
That's my argument. What's the alternative?
You can't say, okay, we're going to give them the ball still if it went out of bounds on the 1 yard line. Or there's no other way to do it. The rule's perfectly fine. I think it stays, and there's no other way around it. So no way.
I agree. But the only thing you could make an argument that if you could put it at the spot of the fumble and give the team that it. But that makes no sense. That doesn't make any mathematical sense.
No, it doesn't.
Sense. So,
but Pat, that rule really sucks when it happens to your team. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
When you think you're going to score a touchdown, like Neil Anderson in the '85 Auburn game at Auburn, he looks like a touchdown, fumble out through the end zone, then they got blown out.
And Neil Anderson to this day says he crossed the plane, but they didn't have replay back then. So, all right, Robbie, we appreciate you, man.
Okay, Pat.
I will see
you. See you again soon.
Okay. See you later, buddy.
Okay.
Okay, and thanks to Robbie for being on. We always love having Robbie Andrew on Mondays. And, of course, Coach Spurrier was awesome today. He was hilarious, as always. Love talking to him. Let's get to our Adams Ripco to go Gator of the Weekend. And it's going to be Gators of the Weekend because I am giving it to Alex Anzalone and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who, of course, are play for the Lions and are now going to the NFC Championship game. And I thought it was really cool when Anzalone, because right before him, Aiden Hutchinson had said, when they did the introductions and, they come on and say what school they went to, and he said his high school. And right after him was Anzalone. He said, Alex Anzalone, Gator boy. And I'm like, yeah. Okay, that's good. And he got a lot of pub during the game. He played great. The guy was such a good player, and so was Chauncey. Chauncey, I don't think any Florida player, and I'm pretty sure that's true. I don't remember whether I looked it up at the time or not, was MVP at 2 bowl games in 3 years. I think that was a first, but he was. Both of them, well, I think it was an Outback and a Citrus, or it might have been 2 Outbacks. I don't even remember now. But anyway, congratulations to them. I would love to have put Osiris Torrance in here, who I saw a stat. He is the only Buffalo player that played every snap this year. What a great year he's had. Boy, that was a talent that I'm not saying Florida didn't use him right, but they didn't get the best record out of a great player. And that's the thing. You need a bunch of them. You can't do it with just one great lineman. You got to have 5. You can't do it with just a passing game. You got to have a passing game and a running game. Anyway, you see my point. Adam's Rib Co. to go, place to go when you need barbecue. No question about that. We appreciate Adam for being a major sponsor of the Bob Dooley Invitational and for sponsoring our Adam's Rib Co. to go Gator, in this case Gators, of the weekend. Now, I could have taken a lot of people. I could have taken some basketball players. I could have taken Micah Hanlockton, who I thought had his second double-double and played pretty well in that game. But I decided to go with these guys. Let's go to our Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks. And I did get an address for our last winner, so I'll be sending him a book and a $25 gift certificate to Leonardo's. So we had many people qualify because most people pick Florida to beat Missouri. We'll see how many pick Florida to beat Mississippi State this game. They've got some studs on that team. Tolu Smith, who I feel like has been playing basketball for 20 years at Mississippi State. That is your game, though. It's very simple. Florida or Mississippi State. I know most of you are going to pick Florida and then root for the Gators to win. I don't disagree with that. I hope that happens. But that's your Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks, and then eventually – I don't know. Maybe around. I think we said Valentine's Day. We're going to look to do another poll to see another winner. All right, let's get to our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Brought to you by Hesser and Kipke, and of course, Hesser and Kipke is a Gainesville law firm specializing in the areas of family law and workers' compensation. If you're a loyal listener to this show, and I hope you are, you know who we are by now. If not, Google the firm, check out the reviews, and hear what our clients have to say. Ken and Jennifer can be reached 24/7 via call or text at 352-339-9920. Hesser and Kipke. Ken Hesser and I had several exchanges back and forth. One of them was he's already registered for a foursome for the Bob Dooley. I will say, peeps, it's going to fill fast. I know it's still a long way away. It'll probably be filled by the middle of February. If you want to get in, look. It's not hard. Go to stopchildrenscancer.org and register. There's a site there, link there you can get to. It's first come, first serve. It's called an invitational, but it's first come, first serve for the most part. Although I've rejected people in the past. I will say that. All right, number 1 was the Caitlin Clark thing. And so when I first saw it, I'm like, this is why you can't storm the courts. This is... And because I'm a big believer. But, I mean, again, in my case, it's kind of like I just didn't want people running over me and hitting me. And like I said, a goalpost came down right next to me at 97 at the LSU game. It's just it's easily enforceable. And conferences don't do enough to change it. And it goes back to the same thing. And again, we talked about this with Coach Spurrier happening at Tulane with David Jones, the Memphis player, got pushed in the back. And, they're looking into that. And they've apologized. And everybody's apologizing. Well, somebody – and Matt Painter went on a big rant about it just a week ago. Somebody's going to get hurt. And it's like they're waiting for somebody to get really hurt badly. That's – why do you have to wait? Why not just be proactive on this? I'm not a big fan of it. You know that. But Caitlin Clark was like brushing it off. Yeah, I get the wind knocked out of me. She did kind of throw her arms up in the air a little bit, like, I can't believe it. But anyway, it's still not right, for fans to be running on the court, especially in the age of selfies. Guys taking selfies or taking video, they're not looking where they're going. They're looking at the selfie. Drives me nuts, people who watch their kids do events and they've got like the iPad up watching it so they can have it videoed. Okay, I think it's really cool you got it videoed, but why don't you just watch it? It's personal. This is an old man yelling at the clouds. I know. Get off my lawn. All right, number 2. I mentioned this earlier. DOJ joins a suit that multiple states have already filed, demanding that, hey, players have they should have no restrictions. They can go wherever they want, and then go again, and then go again, and then go again. They can go as many times as they want. They can transfer, get in the portal. How this world's changed. Look, I think a lot of us were of the belief that the sitting out a year rule was stupid, okay? It was stupid. The way you could restrict people from not transferring to certain schools was stupid. The coaches had all the power. And again, the worst role models in the world. I'll say that again. This was an epiphany I had last week. The coaches are the worst role models in the world. They take the best paying job. They restrict you. They don't care about your well-being in some cases. Not all coaches. I'm not saying all coaches, but some coaches. But who's going to make who's going to change it? Who's going to say, well, we're going to have it this way, because they're going to lose lawsuit after lawsuit, and nobody is going to fight anything. So basically, it's going to be the Wild West for a while. I'm trying to come up with these 12 things that could improve college football and for Gators Wire, and one of them would be, to do what they're doing now, but you can't do it apparently. The DOJ's behind it, states are behind it. We're gonna have it. It's a mess. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Let's get to number 3, which was Nick Dunlap, of course, the amateur from University of Alabama, sophomore that won the tour tournament this weekend. Already there's talk about him going to live. Already they're negotiating with him already. Let's just put it that way. What are you going to do? But it's a third straight long shot to win on the tour, and I'm wondering, well, is that because players are getting better or because the live has taken too many guys? I don't think they've taken that many players that would be playing in this event. I think it's just that they're getting so much better right now. I mean, the kid that used to win the Gator Open, the Florida Open, or the Gator Invitational, I should say, was probably hitting at 270, and now they're hitting their 9-iron that far. So it's a different world that we live in. Hopefully he doesn't. You know how I feel about that. Let's go, and we appreciate Hesser and Kipke, our great sponsors, for our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Let's move on to our Swamp Games of the Week. We got several basketball for you. Florida, Mississippi State, as Coach mentioned, the women are playing tonight at 7 on the SEC Network. So you can watch the game, and I will watch the game tonight. Florida, Mississippi State. Florida, of course, Mississippi State in men's basketball is at an 8:30 game on the SEC Network. I guarantee I'll be watching that. I will not be going. I'm not getting home at that late. So that's the old man in me, but we all know that. Also, I definitely want to watch Tuesday night Kentucky, South Carolina, which is at 7 o'clock on the SEC Network. South Carolina's chance to kind of prove itself that they're actually a pretty good team. Kentucky, of course, is a really good team, and just added the guy. Well, I can't tell you his name because I can't remember. Vicevic or something like that. 7'2" guy, just another weapon for him. I just can't wait for somebody to knock him out. I hope they do of the tournament. So you got that. And then, of course, the Australian Open is going on. If you want to watch the Australian Open, I will not be watching it. Ben Shelton got knocked out, and that was it for me. But if you want to watch the Australian Open, 3 o'clock in the morning, that's all you got to do is get it up. They're in the last week of it, so if you want to watch it, it's on from like 3 to 7, and then I think there's another segment where they show late at night. But the bottom line is you got to be a real tennis fan to get up and watch the Australian Open at 3 a.m. However, I will say this. I have watched golf that early. So I used to be a big tennis guy. I said this before, not as much anymore, but Ben Shelton's kind of bringing me back. Unfortunately, got beaten 5 sets the other day, so no reason to watch. But if you want to watch, I wanted to make sure you knew. All right, those are our Swamp Games of the Week. It's amazing. Every time I do this, the Swamp Games of the Week, I'm looking for really good ranked on rank college basketball games. It's never ranked on rank for some reason. You would think with the like everybody in the Big 12 is ranked. I don't know why nobody's ever playing each other. But anyway, that'll get better as we go forward, as you know. Finally, let's wrap it up with Pat Dooley's Storytime. As always, Pat Dooley's Storytime brought to you by Eastlake Pediatrics. We appreciate Mike Jordan and the folks down there for being a sponsor right through the end of February. We do appreciate them. They've been great partners and sponsors. And that will be open in March if you want to get involved in that. I've still got more stories to tell. The story I'm going to tell today is about my $100 chili. And it's because it was a big deal. Well, I guess it was a big deal Friday night. We were in a bar. Everybody was talking about it. Maybe it's not that big a deal. But if you want to know about why I have $100 chili, I got to go back to Earl Fannin. Earl Fannin was a sports writer with me at the Times Union in Jacksonville. He was a different kind of guy. Earl Fannin, and I'm trying to say this the right way. At one point, he had a minor stroke and couldn't work. He could kind of do desk work, but he couldn't write anymore. And it was a terrible thing. And finally, they went to him and they said, look, and his speech was drastically different. They went to him and said, look, we are going to have to let you go because, and again, this is back in the 80s, early 80s. We're going to have to let you go because you can't do your job anymore, and you can get on disability and everything. The next day, he was fine. I was curious. But Earl was a great cook, I will tell you that. He was a great cook, and he's the guy who introduced cashews instead of beans on chili for me. So I got to give him full credit for that. And so that's one of the elements, and that adds right there's $10, okay, if you're using cashews instead of chili beans. Now I add steak. At times I've added shrimp, but that's probably not a good move. But steak, beef, chicken, pork, sausage. It's a meat lover's chili. And it was really good on Saturday night. And you know what? Sunday, I went to the gym, got a workout in, and as I was coming home, I go, I got chili left. I think I'm going to go hit that. And I hit it hard. So that's where my Pat Dooley, that's where the $100 chili comes. Does it cost $100 to make? Pretty damn close. I was lucky because Karen had already had chicken that she had made, and there was a couple other things she had. Otherwise, it would have gotten near the $100 mark. But that's what we call it, $100 chili. All right, voice is going. I got to go. I got to get out of here. Thanks to Zach for doing a great job, as always, producing. And we'll be back Thursday with Ahmad Black. Look forward to that here on another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Until then, I am deep, I am way back, and I am out of here.